Hi, it's Kelsey, and today I'm doing the bookshelf scavenger hunt tag. It's a fairly old tag, but I'm fairly new to BookTube, and it looked fun, so I decided to do it. If you're new as well, I tag you, join along, looks fun. I haven't actually gone over the questions yet, so I'm not even sure if my bookshelf is sufficient enough for this tag, so I'm hoping so. I believe the tag was originally created by the Library of Sarah, if I'm correct. I found a blog called the Dreamland Book Blog, and he or she added some extra questions of their own, so I'll try and leave the blog down below as well as the original post if I can find it. I'll be reading the questions off my phone. So, number one, the first question is, find an author's name or title with the letter Z in it. I just realized that my bookshelf is in no particular order, and because I just moved in, and so I kind of threw books on the shelf, and now I'm realizing that that's going to make this really difficult because I don't even know where the book is if I know what I'm looking for. So I believe the book name has Marcus Zusak. Never read it, but I have it somewhere. The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. Second question is to find a classic. I have a lot of weird classics. I'm gonna go with Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. That's classic enough, I think. The third question is to find a book with a key on it. I don't even know what would have a key on it. Oh, Sarah Destin, where are you at? Where are you at? Oh, I don't know if I have that book. I don't know if I have Lock and Key. I don't think I have it because I didn't like that book. It's the one book I didn't like by her. Damn it. I turned off my camera because it was taking so long to find a book, but I found one. Incarcerin by Catherine Fisher. I haven't read this book, but thank goodness there's a key on it, so thank you, Fisher. Next question is to find something on your bookshelf that's not a book. I feel like I took... Oh, okay. I have this frame. It's a 3D photo frame. I don't know if you can see. I don't know how to focus this thing. A 3D photo frame. It's still in its wrapper, but it's got typewriters and old clocks and stuff on it. And then it was just shoved on the side. Next question is, find the oldest book on your shelf. This is Elbert Hubbard's Scrapbook. This book is so amazing. I love this book. It's not even technically a book. It says scrapbook, and it's Elbert Hubbard's. It's just quotes and pieces from work and fiction that he likes. Yeah, it's just got some just really beautiful writing in here. So he's got good taste, Elbert Hubbard. But I believe this book, I got it at a thrift store, so it's just almost about to fall apart. But copyright says 1923. I think that's the oldest book. At least it's the oldest looking book. I don't know if it's oldest published. The next question is to find a book with a girl on the cover. I feel like that's everything. Here's Coffee House Angel by Suzanne Selfors. I love this book. I read it quite a while ago, so it was probably when I was in high school. But just super cute, good reads. Next, I have to find a book with a boy on the cover. So, I mean, that's technically a boy, but I feel like you could say Ender's Game's a boy, but how do you know it could be a girl? You know what I mean? Let's see. We're gonna go with one of my favorites, The City of Bones, Shirtless Boy. Yeah, there's my man Jace right there. If you haven't read this series, do it. Now I have to find a book that has an animal on it. You would think Into the Wild would have an animal on it, but no. I'm gonna say that a butterfly counts as an animal, right? I've had this argument with some people before that some people say insects aren't animals. I'm gonna look it up after I film this video. But I'm gonna go ahead and say a butterfly is an animal. And this is Beautiful Disaster by Jamie McGuire. I haven't read this yet, but I've heard some pretty good things. I think this book's a little bit risque. It's got a little bit of a romance, but deeper romance. Or maybe it's just deep lust. I believe that is what is in here? Yeah, beautifully sexy, beautifully intense, and beautifully perfect. So I'm excited to read it. Next, I have to find a book with a male protagonist. Where is, I know what book I want, so I'm gonna tell you all about it. This is Hard Love by Ellen Whitlinger. I don't know if anyone's ever talked about this on the LGBTQIA and plus book recommendations. I read this book in early high school, I believe, and I didn't realize it had anything to do with the LGBTQIA genre. And not that I wouldn't have wanted to read it, but I had never read a book with something like that in it. And this ends up being one of my favorite books of all time. And I read it a long time ago, so I can't really say whether or not it does LGBTQIA community justice. It's just this whole really cute relationship between the main character and this other person, and it just really shows how sometimes love is a little bit more complicated than you think. I don't want to really give it all away, and I haven't read it in a long time. Like I said, I do need to go back over it and kind of just make sure that it does that community justice, but I really, really enjoyed this book when I read it. And the protagonist is male, if I didn't say that. Now to find a book with only words on it. Here we go. This is a poetry book. It is I Wrote This For You by Please Find This, because it was a Tumblr tag, I believe, or a Tumblr name. But his real name is Ian S. Thomas. This book's pretty great. I read it in my advanced poetry class last semester. But inside they have a bunch of like photos, and it's just a bunch of poems that are really nice. Next I have to find a book with illustrations on it. I don't know if I have a book with... Does illustration mean like looks illustrated, or like, does this count? It's the Infernal Devices Clockwork Angel. I just realized that I own this book, like looking at this right now, and I already read Clockwork Angel, so holy crap, I'm gonna go read this like right now. I'm on Clockwork Princess, the third one, but I can read this. I can read this right now. Anyways, I think this counts as an illustration. Yeah, now I have to find a book with gold lettering. Oh, here it is. There's actually not a title on the front of this book, but it's gold, and then on this side it does say, I don't know if you can read that. It's a separate piece by John Knowles. I read this book in high school. It's my least favorite book of all time that I ever was forced to read. I really hated this book. I don't remember why. I feel like I should go back and read it, but I remember hating it so much that I probably never will. But the cover was so pretty that I bought it even after I read it. Next I have to find a diary. Diary. Oh. I guess it's the obvious choice. Little green book. The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I'm so ashamed to say that I have not read this book, but it's so tiny that I'm hoping to read it by the end of this year, actually. Now I have to find a book written by someone with a common name, i.e. Smith or something. I'm gonna go with Stephanie Meyer. I think Stephanie's a pretty common name and Meyer's a pretty common name, so going with that. Now to find a book that has a close-up of something on it. Here we go. Here's a close-up of a face. This is Hourglass by Claudia Gray. I think it's the third book in the Evernight series. I don't ever think I got to this one. I read the first two. They're great books, but I need to go back and reread them if I'm gonna go over this series again. Now to find a book on my shelf that takes place in the earliest time period. I don't know if you know this, but I am not a, what's it called? I am not a historical fiction kind of person. So I really don't like the earlier time period. However, and I would consider Clockwork Angel. It takes place in an earlier time period. Now to find a hardcover book without a jacket. Well, the one I showed, oh, here we go. This is the Harvard's Classics Collector's Edition of Emerson. So, a bunch of poetry and some essays in here, all by Ralph Waldo Emerson, this beautiful man. Now I have to find a teal / turquoise colored book. Teal, turquoise, teal, turquoise. This is like both. This is The Bridge to Holy Cross by Paul Simons, and I believe that Little Book Owl read all of these books, and ever since then, I think this is kind of historical fiction. I've wanted to read this series. Now I have to find a book that has stars on it. Oh, no, that's a moon. This is pushing it, but oh, it could be snow. It could be snow. Stop. Oh, here we go. Lola and the Boy Next Door by Stephanie Perkins. Here's the star. Now I have to find a non-YA book. I actually have quite a few of those because I read a lot of poetry and kind of like philosophy books. But I'm gonna go with one of my favorites, which is The Steppenwolf by Herman Hesse. I read this year. Great book, highly recommend it. Non-YA. Now I have to find the longest book I own. This is actually my boyfriend's book, so that doesn't count. I think it could be Lord of Shadows. I don't want to read the last word. Let's see. How many pages is Harry Potter? Oh, I actually think it's Harry Potter. This one's like 7. I haven't read Harry Potter yet, so I'm trying not to read the last word because it bothers me. I think it's 759 pages. The Last Sacrifice? That's pretty hefty. No. Alright, I think it is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. Now I have to find the shortest book I own. So one of these, maybe? These are all like the Dover classics, I think. So I'm gonna go with Oscar Wilde, The Ballad of Reading Gaol, and Other Poems. This book is 50 pages. Now to find a book with multiple POVs. I already know that City of Bones is multiple POVs. I think if I can find another one. I'm just gonna have to be basic because I can't locate another one, and I don't even see Twilight right now. So we're gonna go with New Moon by Stephanie Meyer.